What if the biggest threat to Jenny and Sumit's marriage wasn't the age gap or even his parents, but years of promises that never truly became reality? Imagine spending years fighting for love, standing against everyone who said your relationship would never survive, only to wake up one day and realize you're still fighting the exact same battle. That's exactly why this story has people talking. And honestly, if you followed Jenny and Sumit's journey from the beginning, this situation feels less like one sudden argument and more like the result of years of emotional pressure finally reaching its limit. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Breakdown Epic. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. Now let's get into it. Everything looked normal on the surface until Jenny started noticing something that most people would probably ignore. It wasn't a huge fight or a dramatic confrontation. Instead, it was the little things. Every time she asked about the future, Sumit gave careful answers that never really answered the question. Whenever the topic shifted toward his parents, his confidence suddenly disappeared. At first, Jenny convinced herself she was overthinking it, but sometimes your instincts notice the truth long before your mind is ready to accept it. Then came the moment that changed everything. Jenny accidentally overheard Sumit discussing his future responsibilities with his family. He wasn't saying he wanted to leave her, but he also wasn't clearly defending the life they had built together. And that's where doubt quietly entered the relationship. In my opinion, that's actually worse than hearing someone say something directly, because your imagination starts filling in all the blanks. And trust me, our imagination usually creates a much scarier story than reality itself. Jenny decided not to explode with anger. Instead, she started asking simple questions. Where do you see us in 5 years? Will we still be living together? Are we building our future or just waiting for another family crisis to change everything? But every answer from Sumit felt incomplete. Rather than giving Jenny certainty, every conversation created even more uncertainty. That's when she realized she wasn't asking about houses or cities anymore. She was asking whether she still came first in the person she sacrificed everything for. And honestly, if your partner can't give you clarity about your future after everything you've been through together, that's a painful position to be in. Then something happened that looked positive at first. Sumit's parents finally agreed to meet them. Anyone watching from the outside might think, finally, things are getting better. But the meeting didn't feel like acceptance. It felt like negotiation. The message was subtle but clear. They weren't asking Sumit to choose between being a son and a husband. They were asking him to slowly move back toward the family, one small step at a time. That's what made Jenny uncomfortable, because sometimes compromise isn't really compromise, it's just surrender wearing a nicer suit. And yes, I know that's a dangerous opinion, but that's exactly how the situation felt. Even after leaving the meeting, Sumit remained hopeful. He believed progress takes time. Jenny saw something completely different. She saw boundaries slowly disappearing. Every explanation he gave sounded reasonable, yet somehow every explanation pushed her one step further away from feeling secure. That's when she began questioning something much deeper than family pressure. She started wondering whether she had spent years waiting for a future that might never actually arrive. If I'm being completely honest, this is probably the most heartbreaking part of their story, because love itself doesn't seem to be missing. The problem is certainty. Two people can genuinely love each other and still slowly drift apart if they keep avoiding the conversations that matter most. And here's something I found really interesting. Throughout all of this, Sumit never looked like the villain. Instead, he looked like someone trying to keep everyone happy at the same time. Unfortunately, trying to satisfy everyone often means nobody truly feels chosen. It's almost like trying to hold two boats together while they're floating in opposite directions. Eventually, you're the one who falls into the water. And that's exactly where things begin taking a dramatic turn, because Jenny stops waiting for promises and starts preparing for something much more permanent. As the days passed, Jenny stopped asking for reassurance and started paying attention to actions instead of words. Sometimes silence tells you more than an argument ever could. The house became quieter, conversations became shorter, and both of them knew something had changed, even though nobody wanted to say it out loud. The strange part was that nothing looked broken from the outside, but emotionally, the distance between them had never felt bigger. One thing that really stood out to me was how different Jenny's attitude became. Earlier in their relationship, she would fight for every conversation, every misunderstanding, and every chance to fix things. This time was different. She wasn't giving up because she stopped loving Sumit. She was stepping back because she was exhausted from carrying the emotional weight alone. And honestly, that's usually the moment people should worry the most. Anger can often be repaired, but emotional exhaustion is much harder to fix. Meanwhile, Sumit genuinely seemed to believe there was still time to solve everything. From his perspective, nothing had become impossible yet. He thought another conversation, another promise, or another compromise could somehow repair the damage. But relationships rarely fall apart because of one huge mistake. More often, they slowly crack under years of unresolved issues, until one day, someone simply can't carry them anymore. I also think this situation highlights something many couples experience. Love alone isn't always enough. Trust, consistency, and feeling emotionally secure matter just as much. If one partner constantly feels uncertain about where they stand, even the strongest relationship can begin to feel unstable. And here's something worth thinking about. Throughout their journey, both Jenny and Sumit sacrificed a lot. Jenny left her familiar life behind to build a future in India. Sumit stood against cultural expectations and faced years of criticism for choosing the woman he loved. Neither person's sacrifices should be ignored.
That's exactly why this situation feels so emotional. Nobody here appears completely right or completely wrong. Instead, both seem trapped by circumstances that became bigger than either of them expected. There was also a moment where I couldn't help but smile because it reminded me of something we all do. We convince ourselves that next month everything will finally get better. Then next month becomes next year, and suddenly you've spent years waiting for a future that never arrives. If you've ever done that, you're definitely not alone. Now the biggest question becomes this. Can a relationship survive once hope starts turning into doubt? Personally, I think the answer depends on one thing. Real change only matters when it happens before someone reaches their breaking point, not after. Once trust begins disappearing, rebuilding it becomes much harder than keeping it in the first place. At the end of the day, this isn't just about Jenny or Sumit. It's about two people trying to balance love, family, loyalty, and personal happiness all at the same time. That's an incredibly difficult position for anyone to be in, and it's exactly why their story continues to resonate with so many viewers around the world. So, what do you think?
If you were in Jenny's position, would you continue fighting for the relationship, or would you finally choose your own peace of mind? And if you were in Sumit's shoes, could you really balance your marriage and your family without making one side feel neglected? Personally, I believe every relationship eventually reaches a moment where promises have to become actions. Words can inspire hope, but only consistent actions build lasting trust. Whether this relationship grows stronger or moves in a completely different direction, one thing is certain. The next chapter will be one of the most important turning points in their journey. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. I genuinely love to hear where you think this story goes from here. Until next time, take care, and I'll see you in the next Breakdown Epic video.